Welcome to this episode of Bin Busters. Today we're going to talk kind of a post-harvest recap. I think that's kind of what we'll focus on here. Talk a little bit about what went on with our corn, with our soybeans, some trials, some different things we looked at this year, some stuff that worked, some stuff that really didn't work, and kind of go from there. I know I saw some cool stuff on our farm, and I know you did as well. Jonah, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about corn, or you want to get back to your favorite crop of soybeans?
Let's just talk about corn first.
Okay, what do you want to start with? You want to talk general farm, or do you want to talk NCGA corn?
Let's just talk NCGA corn. I think you and I have talked before. We, at our farm, did not submit an NCGA entry this year just because the planned field, we had a lot of issues with it there at the end of the year. Looking back, wish we would have inserted taken a different field off for NCGA entry. Probably should have done the one when Courtney was with us this fall. That would have been an awesome one to do, but we thought we had better. But we got there and we were wrong. So we didn't submit one. Still did very good on the total farm average. Very happy with it. Just not something that I would be proud to put my name behind. I wouldn't have beat you, Doug. So that's the biggest thing. If I can't beat you, then why would I do it?
I wouldn't say that. That's not your biggest goal. But for us, we did submit the NCGA entry, and it turned out, I would say, pretty well. Not as good as it could have been, in my opinion. And we had that minor technicality there for a little while. We were down for 2.5 weeks. We had a combine malfunction, and trying to get parts and get everything back together, that corn dried down. We had some wind in there, so we had a little bit of lodging. So had some extra head loss on 17% corn with a touch of lodging. Corn was planted at 39,000, so some of those 40-mile-an-hour winds and
don't forget the
mud.
Not
getting it done till latter part of November was kind of a hindrance. But
and mud,
trying
to combine a field when you're moving sideways,
it's not good. We just had some challenges, but all in all, looking at how the tests come out, we're pretty happy with it. Did we want more? Absolutely, but it is what it is at this stage of the game. You can't change it. So
exactly. Like I said, I was very happy with our corn, even though we didn't submit an entry. It was just the biggest thing is it wasn't something that would have won with or even been on, top 3, I guess. So I wasn't going to mess with it, but I was still very happy, and the management paid off no matter what. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and we had another NCGA entry from my dad. It turned out very well, and I didn't get it submitted. It has to be done within 14 days of the day the check is done. But we just got busy working on the combine, trying to find parts and things of that nature that I just, and working.
I kind of forgot about
it. And Dad's entry was good. It wouldn't be, like you say, it wouldn't have been good enough to win, but it was very, very competitive.
Yeah. So one thing I will say on the corn side, we saw a huge response this year to the 2-pass fungicide on the acres we were able to get it done on. Yeah. Very happy with that. Very glad we did it. Some of the acres we didn't do it, we should have done it, and we definitely saw a yield loss because of that. That's something that we're going to focus more acres on next year, the 2-pass fungicide. Definitely make that a priority, I guess, is my thing.
Yeah, the 2-pass fungicide definitely pays. We didn't, on our farm, we had all intentions of getting it done. Operationally, it just couldn't happen.
Yeah.
And that cost us some too on that NCGA plot, but it is what it is. Plans are plans, and sometimes they change, and sometimes they get broken.
It's farming.
It's farming.
Yeah.
And you can't be 100% right all the time.
Yep.
And things operationally happen. Sprayer breakdowns, combine breakdowns. That's life, and you shoot for the fences, and if you can't hit the fence, then it is what it is. At least you're.
So let's switch over to beans. You had a respectable bean yield. I know you said you were a little disappointed, but it's still very good in my opinion. Ours was good, not as good as last year, I will say that, but I was very happy given the circumstances we were dealt. We had SDS, like bad SDS, and we even managed accordingly to prevent SDS, and still it blew through. Still very happy with the yields. I know we're not going to tell the yields right now, but man, when you're pushing that triple-digit marker almost there, and still have extremely bad SDS, that means you did everything else right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, we managed the heck out of it just to get it there, and I was extremely happy given the circumstances. A lot of people, I was disappointed. Don't get me wrong, but most people say I'm crazy for being disappointed. But
yeah, and we talk about this all the time. Beans are more your thing. I focus a lot on corn. My beans, they were good. They're not going to be as good as yours. They probably never will be. I didn't get as strong. I didn't keep my foot on the gas like I typically do with them. I had a good stand early. Weather wasn't cooperating on that particular farm. Maybe I pulled back just a little bit on a few things late season. And Did that cost me? Maybe, maybe not. You know, still pretty fortunate for the yield number we got, but we had some challenges.
Yeah.
You know, and we had some challenges on some other farms. You know, we talk about this, and it's life and it's farming. Not every farm we farm is going to be, you know, a contest type field. Not every one of them. It doesn't happen. You have operational challenges. You have weather. You have wildlife. You know, we had a severe replant challenge, you know, on that stuff that was planted very timely. You know, we got an opportunity to plant it again, and then we got an opportunity to plant some of that again. And, you know, those farms with just a terrible yield.
Yeah.
You know, our bean yield is all over the board. You got farms that average close to 80. You got farms that average in the 30s, and it's just life. It is what it is.
Let's talk about next year. Going forward, what do you think you're going to change? There's a few things I'm going to change. I did a little bit of in-furrow stuff on beans this year. Definitely taking that full board next year. I saw a difference. Not a huge difference, but I saw enough to pay for it, and there's some different products I'm going to try to see if we can push that mark a little bit harder. Definitely going to continue on with the 2-pass fungicide deal on the beans like we talk about on corn. Might even try some things late season on the beans, right around that late R2, early R3. There's a few different products that one of our Winfield agronomists and I had talked about, and with the SDS, we went ahead and said no, it wasn't going to be worth our time.
Right.
But we're going to try some different things there. So, you know, on the bean side, I feel like we're going to do a great job next year. We have some things planned already. I know the corn side, that's kind of your cup of tea, Doug. Talk about what you think you're going to change for next year. I know you tried a product we didn't talk about a lot all year, something, a nutrient, fill me in, something to uptake and help, you know, uptake nutrients better. I don't want to say the name, but you tell me exactly what you want to.
Yeah, so there's a couple different biologicals we talked about, and we'll get into that later on as we do kind of that, when we get into our deep dive and talk about ROIs and product names and things of that nature. We saw some good returns on some of that. Some of it was just kind of trading dollars. There was some of that stuff, it's really a home run, and some of it not so much. There's a lot of trials that we're going to try, you know, for next year. We tried high population block this year.
Extreme high population.
Extreme high
for
population
our area,
block.
I should say.
For our area,
Yeah.
you know, in this soil structure down here. Statistically didn't see that much of a yield reduction compared to a traditional block, I should say.
Yeah.
Or I mean, a yield difference between the extreme high population and where we would normally be plus a little, you know. So if you talk about this area being in a 32 to 34,000 wheelhouse, I'm talking comparing 34, 35 to 40,000, you know, and 40,000 we just didn't see. Would we have if that farm didn't get that drought? You know, it went through that dry period for too long.
Yeah.
But would we have saw more top end out of that? It's hard to tell. You tell me what the weather's going to be next year, and I'll make decisions based off of that. But it's always, and that's part of our job, you know, to try things, find new things, find things that work as we look into next year with where we're at on price of inputs, you know, and trying to balance that with things that still bring a lot of ROI. You know, if we can keep some of those things there that maybe cost somewhere in that $5 to $10 an acre range, but can return the grower X amount of bushels well above and beyond what that cost is, you know, those are things we still need to focus on.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to 2022 in a certain sense. In another sense, I'm not.
I think we're going to see a lot of guys, we're going to see the guys who know how to manage their crops in 2022. The ones who are wanting to manage correctly are going to make some decent money, I feel like,
Yeah,
even with the
absolutely.
high input cost.
Yeah, and absolutely. One thing going into 22, and we talk about input costs, and a lot of that's fertility cost. If you have not, you know, got in contact with your heritage agronomist or anybody within the system here to do some updates on soil tests, you know,
Definitely.
you need to be honing in on that and finding out where you need to be spreading high price fertilizer.
Exactly.
You know, and making sure you're spending your money in the right places. I think that's huge. We've got time here between now and spring to get some of that stuff done to make sure you're to be the most efficient with your fertilizer dollars.
And this is a good time to talk to your heritage agronomist too, you know, along with this high price fertilizers. Make sure we can get the fertility that's in the ground into that plant.
Yeah.
You know, there's products out there, nutrient efficiency products that you and I have used a little bit that, you know, in 2022 we're going to take a really big look at because, you know, the days of putting a little extra fertilizer on to make sure we get it in might not be the ticket this year. We might want to make sure we get what's there into the plant,
Yeah, absolutely.
instead of putting extra on to try to get it in there. So
absolutely, I think you're spot on with that. You know, and the other thing we haven't talked much about right now is hybrids. You know,
Yeah.
there was some serious standouts this year for us on the hybrid lineup comparative to some traditional stuff, and having, you know, we had 3 different plots to
Yep.
take a look at, and there was some alarming differences in those plots. Not saying the ones that were in there were bad, but there were some in there that were exceptionally good that we haven't given a fair look at, just because we didn't feel like we had room for them in the lineup. They didn't work operationally, you know, harvest schedule and things of that nature. But now, forcing myself to work them back into the lineup.
a 10 bushel swing is going to be huge next year.
Yeah.
And you saw some 10 bushel plus swings in hybrids. So,
Yeah.
you know, a 10 bushel swing, that's going to be some profitability on these guys' acres. So, you know, sit down, have those conversations this fall, winter, late fall, early winter with your heritage agronomist. Make sure you get the hybrids selected in varieties that you want for those acres. Have these conversations about fertility. You know, we have to use fertility next year. So, I mean, you might as well go and have that conversation and figure out what's going to work in your operation. There's a lot of time here to plan this winter, so it's a great opportunity to talk to guys like Doug and I about it and see how we can make you profitable next year.
Absolutely. Talk to you about beans, talk to me about corn. That's
Exactly.
usually how this works.
I think we should have like a 2-day event there. One day you talk about corn, one day I talk about beans, you know?
Yeah. I could get down with that.
I think we should do that. We'll have to talk to the heritage marketing team, see what we can put together there.
Yeah.
Well, hey, until next time, guys, thanks. We'll be hopefully wrapping up here at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're going to have another segment here to talk about some of the key products that we utilize this year, where they stack up on ROI, you know, kind of what we're thinking about in 22 and how we position those, you know, in the world we're going into with higher input prices for 22 and trying to balance that out. So
Sounds good.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.